To the channel. So I thought today I'll do a more laid back, relaxing video on Nadine Dorries' resignation letter. I mean, this is not a channel. I didn't create this channel to talk about UK politics, but I mean, the letter is quite interesting. And given how everyone seems to be talking about it, I thought if you haven't read it, maybe we can go through it together. So Nadine resigned officially yesterday from the House of Commons, even though she said back in, I think it was June, right, that she was going to resign. She waited till yesterday to officially tender her resignation. And the letter that she wrote, it's very damning, right? I mean, it's a scathing attack on the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, even down to his fashion choices, which is, you know, quite interesting. So yeah, let's go through it together. So, dear Prime Minister, it has been the greatest honor and privilege of my life to have served the good people of Mid Bedfordshire as their MP for 18 years, and I count myself blessed to have worked in Westminster for almost a quarter of a century. She's actually had worked in Westminster for a very long time, right? I mean, she's had quite the career. When I arrived in Mid Bedfordshire in 2005, I inherited a Conservative majority of 8,000. Over 5 elections, this has increased to almost 25,000, making it one of the safest seats in the country, a legacy I'm proud of. So, and then she went on to talk about her career as an MP. So, she has obviously served as a backbencher, a bill committee chair, parliamentary undersecretary of state, and then eventually she became Minister of State in the Department of Health and Social Care under Boris Johnson, right, during the COVID crisis. After which she was appointed as Secretary of State at the Department of Digital, Culture, Media, and Sport. And then there was, she talked about her achievements when she was Minister of State in the Department of Health and Social Care. She launched the Women's Health Strategy and pushed forward a national evidence-based trial for Group B strep testing in pregnant women with the aim to reduce infant death. And there was also the online safety bill to protect young people and all that. So this is not the most interesting, but I think the interesting part comes when she started to criticize Rishi, right? So I worked with and encouraged the tech sector to search out untaught talents, such as creative and critical thinking in deprived communities, offering those who face the life on low unskilled pay or benefits access to higher paid employment and social mobility. What many of the CEOs I spoke to in the tech sector and business leaders really wanted was meaningful regulatory reform from you as Chancellor to enable companies not only to establish in the UK but to list on the London Stock Exchange rather than New York. You flashed your gleaming smile in your Prada shoes and Savile Row suit from behind a camera, but you just weren't listening. All they received in return were platitudes and a speech illustrating how wonderful life was in California. London is now losing its appeal as more UK-based companies seek better listing opportunities in the US. That, Prime Minister, is entirely down to you. I'm not sure if I agree with her, but I thought it's interesting that she criticized his fashion choices. Prada shoes and Savile Row suits. I mean, yeah, I mean he does look very sharp, doesn't he? Rishi. And but I do kind of agree that maybe London is losing its appeal a little bit compared to New York. Right? Most of the big tech listings have been in America, in New York. The London stock market has been losing, in terms of big listings, has been sort of fallen behind for sure in the past decade or few decades. Um, Then she talked about the by-election. So basically, long before she resigned officially, or make the announcement to resign officially, she had told the Cabinet Secretary Simon Case of her intention to step down. It says senior figures in the party, close allies of yours, have continued to this day to implore me to wait until the next general election rather than inflict yet another damaging by-election on the party at a time when we're consistently 20 points behind the polls. So they didn't want her to leave so early, really, because they didn't want um, another by-election. Having witnessed firsthand as Boris Johnson and the Liz Truss were taken down, I decided that the British people had a right to know what was happening in their name. Why is it that we have had five Conservative Prime Ministers since 2010, with not one of the previous four having left office as the result of losing a general election? That is a democratic deficit which the mother of parliaments should be deeply ashamed of, and which, as you and I know, is the result of the machinations of a small group of individuals embedded deep at the center of the party in Downing Street. To start with, my investigations focus on the political assassination of Boris Johnson. But as I spoke to more and more people, and I have spoken to a lot of people, from ex-prime ministers, cabinet ministers, both ex and current, through all levels of governments, and Westminster and even journalists, a dark story emerged which grew ever more disturbing with each person I spoke to. So she's working on a book on Boris Johnson, and I'm not sure if I agree with her entirely that that's been a democratic deficit, but and it is up for debate, right? But she is working on a book on Boris Johnson and how he left office. So it became clear to me as a work that remaining as a backbencher was incompatible with publishing a book which exposes how the democratic process at the heart of our party has been corrupted. As I uncovered this alarming situation, I knew such were the forces ranged against me that I was grateful to retain my parliamentary privilege until today. And as you also know, Prime Minister, these forces are today the most powerful figures in the land. Yeah, then she went on to say how she was attacked and this onslaught against her uh, in the past few months, right? I mean, yeah. I think she even mentioned in the later part of the letter that the police have to visit her home because certain threats have been made against her, right? Says, but worst of all has been the spectacle of a prime minister demeaning his office by opening the gates to whip up a public frenzy against one of his own MPs. You fail to mention in your public comments that there could be no writ moved for a by-election over summer, and that the earliest any by-election could take place is at the end of September. The clearly orchestrated, almost daily personal attacks demonstrates that the pitifully low level your government has descended to. Yep. It is a modus operandi established by your allies, which has targeted Boris Johnson, transferred to Liz Truss, and now moved on to me. But I have not been a prime minister. I do not have security or protection. Attacks from people led by you declared open season on myself, and the past weeks have resulted in the police having to visit my home and contact me on a number of occasions due to threats to my person. Since you took office a year ago, the country is run by a zombie parliament where nothing meaningful has happened. What exactly has been done or have you achieved? You hold the office of Prime Minister unelected, without a single vote, not even from your own MPs. You have no mandates from the people, and the government is adrift. You have squandered the goodwill of the nation for what? And what a difference it is now since 2019 when Boris Johnson won an 80-seat majority and a greater percentage of the votes shared than Tony Blair in the Labour landslide victory of 1997. We were a mere 5 points behind the day he was removed from office. Since you became Prime Minister, his manifesto has been completely abandoned. We cannot simply disregard the democratic choice of the electorate, remove both the Prime Minister and the manifesto commitments they voted for, and then expect to return to the people in the hope they will continue to unquestionably support us. They have agency, they will use it. And then she went on to attack Rishi Sunak, right, about uh, his policies, like leveling up has been discarded, and with it, those deprived communities who sought to serve social care ready to be launched, abandoned along with the hope of all of those who care for the elderly and the vulnerable. Online safety bill has been watered down, BBC funding reform, the clock run down, the Mental Health Act timed out, defense spending reduced, our commitment to net zero, animal welfare, and the green issues so relevant to the planet and voters under 40 squandered. As Lord Goldsmith wrote in his own resignation letter, because you simply do not care about the environment or the natural world, what exactly is it you do stand for? And then she talks about, higher taxes under Rishi and the failure to reduce illegal immigration, right? and delivering on the benefits of Brexit. Um, I think what I kind of found interesting is it's a she's turned this resignation letter into an attack on Rishi, and maybe part of it is also to promote her book. I mean, she's working on a book on Boris Johnson political career, and this is a little bit of maybe a promotional tactic, right? I mean, it's obviously a very dramatic and very. I'm not sure it's so well written, but like it's a bit dramatic, right? The way she's delivered her attacks is, yeah. I mean that. It certainly worked in terms of grabbing attention from the public. Okay, it goes on. Disregarding your own chancellor, last week you took credit for reducing inflation, citing your plan. There's been no budget, no new fiscal measures, no debates, there is no plan. Such statements take the British public for fools. The decline in the price of commodities such as oil and gas, the eased pressure on the supply of wheat, and the increase in interest rates by the Bank of England are what has taken the heat out of the economy and reduced inflation. For you to personally claim credit for this was disingenuous at the very least. Okay, I do agree with her a little bit. I think the reduction in inflation really has a lot to do with commodity prices leveling, sort of, uh, uh, yeah, not going up anymore. Basically, decline the price of commodities from the peak. I mean, they're still much higher. Oil is still much higher than before, but from the peak, it has declined. So that's put pressure that have to reduce inflation. Yes, and also obviously increase in rates by the Bank of England. Yeah, maybe I don't think the government has a lot to do with the inflation's kind of easing. It is a fact that there's no affection for Keir Starmer out on the doorstep. He does not have the winning X Factor qualities of a Thatcher, a Blair, or Boris Johnson. And sadly, Prime Minister, neither do you. Your actions have left some 200 or more of my MP colleagues to face an electoral tsunami and the loss of their livelihoods because, in your impatience to become Prime Minister, you put your personal ambition above the stability of the country and our economy. Bewildered, we look in vain for the grand political vision for the people of this country to hold on to. That would make all this disruption and subsequent inertia worthwhile, and we find absolutely nothing. I shall take some comfort from explaining to people exactly how you and your allies achieved this undemocratic upheaval in my book. I'm a proud, working class conservative, which is why the leveling up agenda was so important to me. I know personally how effective a strong and helping hand can be to lift someone out of poverty, and how vision, hope, and opportunity can change lives. You have abandoned the fundamental principles of conservatism. History will not judge you kindly. Okay, that's the end of the letter. I mean, it's all very yeah, interesting to read, but at the same time, it's a bit all over the place, I would say, right? It's a little bit all over the place. Maybe she wrote in the first short amount of time, I think, and it feels like a promotion for her upcoming book, which would be interesting to read as well. Um, yeah, but yeah, what do you think of her letter? What do you think of Nadine Dorries and her story about? We didn't talk about her peerage, right? She was supposed to get the peerage, but then due to number 10 sort of semi blocking it or not relating whatever information she needed to really get the peerage going, she was not on the list eventually of the approved peerages. So I mean, there's all been a lot of drama around Nadine in the past 6 months. I mean, I'm glad at least it's come to some kind of an end, right? And yeah, and the letter has been very dramatic too. Anyway, subscribe to my channel. I mean, let me know what you want to see, and let me know what you think of Nadine Dorries and the letter, the resignation letter. Do you agree with her? I mean, do subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.